Okay, let's just dive right into this. When you hear the name Salim Group, your mind probably jumps straight to, well, a comforting, steaming bowl of Indomie, right? It's a total household name. But what if I told you that behind that familiar packet of instant noodles lies a massive hidden empire? We're talking an empire that has quietly expanded way beyond your pantry to literally dominate the vital infrastructure of an entire neighboring nation. Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to peel back the layers of one of the absolute most fascinating corporate expansions in Southeast Asia. We're looking at exactly how a food giant transformed itself into an untouchable monopoly machine.
Here's our roadmap for today's breakdown. First, we'll look at the $1 billion from instant noodles. Second, the business octopus in the Philippines. Third, expanding to media and transport. And fourth, the secret of monopoly cash machines.
All right, let's kick things off with part one, $1 billion from instant noodles. So, to really wrap our heads around how massive this empire is abroad, we first need to establish their baseline domestic footprint. Look at this foundation. That very first pillar, it's food. Through Indofood, they absolutely dominate the market. But, it's not just noodles. We're talking massive plantations and agribusiness through companies like Salim Evomas Patama. And if you look a bit further down, they're deep into energy and mining too. They have huge stakes and resources tied to heavyweights like Aman Mineral for copper and gold and Bumi for coal. Basically, they've built this impenetrable fortress across food, agriculture, and raw resources. And just to put a real number on that fortress, take a look at this absolutely staggering figure. The projected 2025 revenue for their food pillar alone is 123.49 trillion rupiah. I mean, wow. Branded consumer products, which are heavily driven by Indomie, contribute over 75 trillion rupiah to that pie. It is just a colossal cash generator. But here's the $1 million trillion rupiah question. What on earth do you do when you have that much cash flowing in every single day? Well, you expand. Which brings us right into part two, business octopus in the Philippines. Okay, let's zoom out a bit to see how they use this powerful foundation to cross the sea and conquer neighboring infrastructure. We're heading over to the Philippines now. The strategy here is all about layered ownership. They don't just, walk in and buy a power plant outright. It's way more strategic. Step one, Anthony Salim and the Salim Group hold a massive 45.2% stake in First Pacific, which is based over in Hong Kong. Then, step two, First Pacific holds a 46.1% stake in Metro Pacific Investments Corporation, or MPIC. Finally, step three, MPIC is the entity on the ground that physically locks down the Philippine infrastructure. It's pretty brilliant, honestly. Control flows seamlessly from top to bottom, perfectly shielding the ultimate owners while totally maximizing their regional grip. So, the absolutely crucial point to understand here is the sheer scale. Through this layered structure, Metro Pacific's business network reaches an astonishing 28 million people. Just pause and imagine that for a second. 28 million people in and around Metro Manila alone, interacting with a Salim Group-controlled asset every single day, literally just to live their normal lives. Let's break down exactly what they control. First up, electricity. Metro Pacific holds a 47.5% stake in Meralco. Now, why is this such a big deal? Because Meralco is the sole, and let me emphasize that, the only electricity distributor for the entire Metro Manila area and 36 of its surrounding cities. Residents literally have zero alternative. This single asset pulls in over 280 billion pesos, which is roughly 80 trillion rupiah every single year. And it's vertically integrated too, stretching right back to the actual power generation through Meralco PowerGen. All right, from electricity, we go straight to the taps. Let's see how this builds. Metro Pacific holds a 53.7% controlling stake in Manila Water Services. Manila happens to be the primary provider of clean water for the entire western zone of Metro Manila. It's yet another absolutely essential service securely locked right into their portfolio. And you know what? It doesn't stop at your front door either. It actually controls how you move around the city. Through the Metro Pacific Tollways Corporation, or MPTC, they hold a massive 93.3% stake. This gives them just total absolute dominance over daily mobility, capturing constant cash flows from major arterial toll networks like NLEX and Cavitex. Think about it. Every single time a car passes through, the cash register rings. Let's move on to part three, expanding to media and transport. So physical utilities are just the starting line. This is where we see how the conglomerate really deepens its influence, reaching into the information and communication networks that guide everyday society. Their main gateway here is telecommunications. Through First Pacific, they hold a 25.6% stake in PLDT, which happens to be the largest telecom operator in the entire Philippines. We're talking about annual revenues hovering around 181 billion pesos. That's roughly 52 trillion rupiah. This network connects directly to Smart Communications and TNT, meaning they control a massive share of the nation's cellular data and voice traffic. Now, this brings up a genuinely fascinating puzzle. You see, the Philippine Constitution places some pretty strict limits on foreign ownership in the media sector, basically to protect national interests. So, how exactly does an international conglomerate manage to legally project its influence into national media? Well, the answer is that brilliant layered ownership structure we looked at just a minute ago. Through an entity called MediaQuest Holdings, which operates under PLDT's umbrella, their de facto influence completely bypasses those foreign limits. It's wild. They've reached right into national TV with TV5, pay TV with Signal TV, and even print media with major newspapers like the Philippine Star and Business World. So they don't just power the TVs in your house, they actually help fund the content that's on them. And to truly grasp the scale of this whole business octopus concept, we've got to look at the remaining tentacles. They're heavily involved in Philex mining, pulling resources out of the ground. They hold a 16.5% stake in the Light Rail Manila, moving countless commuters on the LRT-1 train. They even have Metro Pacific Health, which runs a whole network of hospitals, and Landco Pacific for real estate property. At this point, it is practically inescapable. Which brings us to our final section, number 4. The secret of monopoly cash machines. So why buy these specific, really heavy, really expensive assets? Well, it's time for a super quick economics masterclass. The core economic moat of this entire strategy boils down to something called a natural monopoly. Basically, these are vital infrastructure systems like your power grids or water pipes that are simply way too expensive for anyone to try and duplicate. I mean, it makes absolutely zero sense for 5 different companies to lay down 5 different sets of water pipes in one single city, right? So the system inherently favors a single company stepping in and controlling the entire network. To perfectly summarize the Selene Group's overarching master strategy, we can look at this key takeaway from our data. Vital infrastructure provides the rare combination of mandatory needs, high barriers to entry, and a generational cash flow. They basically took the instant massive cash generated from consumer goods in Indonesia and meticulously locked it into the eternal, unshakable cash flow of infrastructure in the Philippines. It is just an absolute masterstroke of corporate strategy. And I think it leaves us with a really profound final thought to ponder. The next time you flip a light switch, turn on a tap, or pay a toll on the highway, just ask yourself, who really owns the vital infrastructure powering your daily life? Because as we've seen today, the answer might be much farther away and much larger than you ever realized. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope it sparked your curiosity as much as it did mine. Keep questioning and keep learning.